Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Friday, July 25th. We are up to Hebrews chapter 9, verse 19. We're going to jump right into it because there's a whole lot to cover today. So verse 19 says, "For when every commandment of the law had been declared by Moses to all the people, he took the blood of calves and goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book itself and all the people, saying, 'This is the blood of the covenant that God commanded you.'" Now, right away, I'm thinking of the Last Supper where Jesus said, this is my body broken for you. And he gave out the bread, and then he gave out the wine, and he said, "This is the blood of the new covenant." So we still have blood involved in this new covenant, but Moses started that old covenant also with blood, but that was the blood of calves and goats. In the Cultural Study Bible, it said this: "The author of Hebrews varies the wording slightly, blending in another familiar element from the Pentateuch. Ancient interpreters sometimes adapted the wording of the text in ways that clarified the point the writer sought to make. Another ancient source also made one of this writer's minor changes to Moses's words." So Moses didn't say that exactly, but he came pretty close to it. Verse 21, "And in the same way, he sprinkled with the blood both the tent and all the vessels for worship." So everything was sanctified. Everything was put under the covering of that blood of that old covenant that was used in worship. Verse 22, "Indeed, under the law, almost everything is purified with blood, and without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins." That is a key phrase to keep in mind as we move forward in Hebrews. You cannot have forgiveness of sins without some kind of blood. Old Testament used goats, calves, sheep, doves, a variety of things. New Testament, it's Jesus's blood that provides that. The ESV Fire Study Bible had this to say: "Sin, which is opposition, rebellion, and defiance toward God and his standards, is so radically opposed to God's perfect character that it requires the most extreme penalty, death and separation from God. You cannot be in fellowship with God with that sin." Excuse me. "Forgiveness can only be provided at the cost of life, but imperfect sacrifices could never permanently remove sin and guilt. Even our own lives are not worthy to pay the full price since death would simply give us what we deserve for defying God. Only God himself could provide a sacrifice that satisfies his perfect justice and pays the penalty for sin once and for all. God's provision came through the willing sacrifice of his Son, Jesus Christ." So in the Old Testament, they had to do these sacrifices over and over and over and over again. But Jesus does it once, and he does it for all time. It covers past, present, and future sin. Verse 23, "Thus it was necessary for the copies of the heavenly things to be purified with these rites, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these." Okay, so what's that talking about? Cultural Study Bible had this to say: "The writer returns to the parallel between the earthly and the heavenly tabernacles." So that's what's being compared here. If the earthly sanctuary could be dedicated only by blood, then the heavenly sanctuary also is dedicated with blood. But again, it's Jesus's blood. Verse 24, "For Christ has entered not into holy places made with hands, which are copies of the true things, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God on our behalf." Important to understand, Jesus carries our requests straight to God, whispers it right in his ear. Verse 25, "Nor was it to offer himself repeatedly as the high priest enters the holy places every year with blood not his own. For then he would have had to suffer repeatedly since the foundation of the world. But as it is, he has appeared once for all at the end of the ages to put away sin for the sacrifice of himself. And just as it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment, So Jesus was appointed to die just once. It's that one time, all-encompassing payment for sin. Only Jesus could do that. It took a perfect human being. We're going to see more about that next week. Today's Friday, so I'm going to remind you there's no video tomorrow or Sunday, but I'll be back with you on Monday. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.